I don't know, it just seems like every little job takes 10 times longer than anywhere else. I can do a job on the house in 5 minutes. A job on the boat, hours. And this is one of those very simple jobs that's taken bloody forever, because you can't just drill a hole. You have to basically core the whole thing, wait for a day, and this is all cored with epoxy. The holes are cored so that there's absolutely no chance of any delamination here of the core. I keep harping on it, and I'm not convinced that the factories do it correctly. So this obviously fits in here. I was going to mount it horizontally, but I've actually come to this conclusion that it's better off vertically, and this folds back flat, so it's less likely to get caught on someone walking down the stairs. If it was sort of out horizontal, it might get caught. So all I need to do now is basically, I've drilled the holes, is just Sikaflex it and screw it in place, and that job will be done. And then I've got to work out how I'm going to connect it at the back. All right, just to prove that I am as anal retentive as I am, they've all got to go north-south. Every single screw on this boat has been adjusted where possible to be perfectly upright. For literally years, I've been walking through boat shops, chandleries, hardware shops, trying to work out the best way forward for plumbing. The only issue is you start collecting boxes full of fittings like this. This box here is almost done, and it's so in here I've got all manner of parts. I've got parts of the hot water system, parts for the pumps and everything, and once I get them all hooked up, everything else is going to go off with the exception of some spares. Now I've actually come across a slightly cheaper wash down part. The original one I got was the Jabsco one, and it was around about $220. This one was $99, and this one's actually a different brand, but it's exactly the same thing. And this will be great for a saltwater deck wash down, which I'm going to position back on the sugar scoop. It's actually going to go down here. I've got a line in there, a saltwater deck wash at the back here, as well as a freshwater hose attachment up underneath. And I'm going to be able to just put this, mount this one on the side of the sugar scoop, just near that shower there, and that'll give me the ability to be able to hose the boat down with salt water. And obviously you need that when you're cleaning off a fish and the like. We don't want to be using fresh water for cleaning off fish blood and all the stuff that we're going to bring on board. So this box here has been a bit of a treasure trove. There's a lot of stuff in here, just junk, but it is getting lighter and lighter every day, and eventually it's going to get down to nothing. Having gone and bought this thing, you've then got to go to a shop, and a plumbing shop, and find a connector that's going to fit firstly the actual back of the washdown and then the barbed hose. And luckily I bought two when I bought the original Jabsco one for up the front. This one's almost identical, it's slightly different. I bought this part, and I've got to see if it actually is going to fit, because I'm bloody praying it is. It should fit, it should be the same thing. This is all spring loaded, so the way this works is that this part here is attached to your hose, and you can just simply push that in, quick disconnect, lock it in, undo it, and just simply close the lid. And the beauty of that is you've got a flush system. You haven't got a hose attachment sticking out of the back of your boat to trip on and break off. So that goes in like that. I'll probably end up buying a spare one of those, just so I can, you know, obviously if we lose one I'll break it. But this part here is ridiculous. It's 3 inches long, 4 inches long, and then I've got to find that's got to mount into that, and then you've got a hose coming off it. So I've already lost a foot basically of room by the time I put a hose on this. So I have to be careful. You don't just drill a hole and think, oh, I'll fit that hose, no problem. It's not that simple. I could probably get a 90-degree fitting here, but for now I'll use this. I've got to work out where this is going to fit, and you don't want hoses running across your access, so I've got to be very, very careful where I drill holes and mount stuff. I'm trying to think this thing through so that I don't impede on my access into anywhere into the boat. We're starting to get a serious amount of plumbing and stuff going in here. The nice thing is it's all on this wall. I intend to use the other side to hold some fenders and things, but here we've got freshwater tap. Here we've got hot and cold water, and that's for our shower, which is up in there. And right here we've got our deck wash down. So nice thing is everything's sort of on one side, and the great thing about this is that this hose, once this is mounted, will route up like this and along the top, and I can secure it to the wall, and I can secure it to there, and that's not going to go anywhere. It's right out of the way. The problem with hoses, if you have them crossing access areas, you're going to have a lot of trouble. I can quickly undo this, turn off the saltwater pump, undo this, still get access, good access up to the exhaust and obviously the bilge hoses. So yeah, it's looking pretty neat here. I'm almost finished in this compartment, which is nice. I've got tons of storage down here for a potential dive compressor and whatever else we might need. We may even need a ballast tank yet. Once we start to sail, we've only got about 100 litres of fuel in each of the fuel tanks at the moment. They're 270 litre diesel tanks. Once they're full, I think the boat's going to even out a little bit because they're more towards the stern here. We've got about a centimetre or two drop in the bow since I rigged the boat. So obviously we're going to put sails on, we're going to put extra stuff in the boat to help sort of counteract the weight, but I'm really conscious of keeping it level. When I put the bulbs on and I did those measurements, I was pretty careful about how much buoyancy I was going to need, and honestly it's so close. 1 or 2 centimetres is just, you know, absolutely brilliant result. I'm hoping tomorrow Janet and I are going to take the boat out for a spin on our own and give it a bit of a test run, maybe calibrate the autopilot, because we haven't even tested that yet. We know it works, we just haven't done any of the calibrations with the compass, with that Fluxgate compass that's got on it. So lots to do, there's plenty coming up. Plumbing really is the order of the day, getting all this nice. I mean, this is all super neat. I'm wrapped with how this is coming up. It's just been a big process and a couple of weeks of work just to get everything in. The final connection to the tanks and the pump is going to be the pleasing bit. I can turn it on and test the system and hopefully no leaks. It's a few days after our rigging went on. We went up to Sydney and escaped for the weekend. I spent the weekend sucking on Panadine Fort and basically laying in bed because I put my back out. Don't know what I did. It was just something stupid. It was twisted, and honestly I guess there was a lot of tension, a lot of build up, and yeah, it just fell apart, as I tend to do after the big milestones that we reach, don't I, Jan?
You do.
Janet's sick of me. She said, no more milestones. We're absolutely sick of you falling apart. So I spent the weekend in bed, and it was a shocker, wasn't it?
Grown man scream and cry?
Yeah. I seriously thought I was going to have to go to hospital and have some sort of a lumbar puncture or something because I was in bad way. But anyway, I'm moving again. Good drugs, that's what it's all about. So up on the rig, let's talk about the rig. Got a bit of a neat spot here because our deck is quite narrow. We've got this little bit of a pinch point here which actually forces you to go inboard as you traverse the deck. Funnily enough, Rolly, who did our rig, he said, God, you always see the positive in everything. I said, yeah, there's a positive. It actually brings you inboard. You quite like it. It brings me inside rather than leaning outwards. And yeah, there's nothing we can do about it, so I've just got to live with it. It's just one of those things about these older design boats is that the shrouds are always going to impede movement down the deck, particularly because we've got such narrow decks. And really, because we've got 7 foot of headroom in the cabin there, it means that we're going to have that pinch point there. But our windage is low, so that's the key. Righto. Got a monster issue here. I've got 2 massive bags of wiring. Now I'd already mounted this snorkel, and it came to pass that it was going to interfere with the traveller track. I wish I'd drilled it probably 3 inches further up. It would have been right, but I've got a hole and I've got to deal with it. In fact, it's going to work out better because all the wiring will go behind the mast and not forward, so it would have actually been a problem no matter what I did. So this way I'm going to have it in a roughly this position with this wire valve coming up into it, with all the wiring going up through that down into the back of the dinette module, and that's actually going to work a treat. The only problem is, look at the bloody wiring. I mean, that is one bundle and there's another bundle here. Fortunately, the interior bore of this is around 38 millimeters, so that's enough to cater for all these wires. I just want to make sure they're all going nice and neatly, so I'm going to construct the whole thing out here on the deck and then just feed the wires in and shove the thing in and glue it in all in one process. But there's a little bit I need to do first. This is a 32 millimeter bilge hose, not 38, which I thought it was. I sort of looked at it the other day and thought that's a 38 millimeter bilge hose, and I went and bought a 38 millimeter Y valve, which actually I had this in stock, but I bought another one. I'm going to have to split this to fit it into the end of this. And then Vince, our friend's actually going to make us a waterproof gusset to go around these 3 connections, so that we make sure that everything's dry going into the boat. I mean, the snorkel will do a lot of the work for us, but we certainly don't want any rainwater or anything collecting in this tube. So I'm going to basically mastic it up or something with some sort of a Hypalon gusset with good adhesive to make sure that I've got everything under control with this wiring. I also need to be able to access it too, so I don't want to glue it up too much to the point that I can't ever replace a wire or run a new wire down into the mast. But hopefully this will do it. I've pretty much rigged this guy with just about everything we need. I've got cameras, I've got TV, I've got aerial, I've got VHF, AIS, wind meter, everything there. But if you ever need to replace something, it can be quite challenging, particularly with the mast. You don't want to bring the mast down to replace a wire. You want to be able to just you know, do this. And I've got a couple of messenger lines already in the loom to make sure that I can still facilitate the removal or replacement of a line if I should need to. I thought the wiring in the boat was bad. This is a bugger of a loom. I've got 5 wires just in this one side alone, so this is going to fill that tube. Yeah, like a statue.
It's a nice day.
Good day, eh?
Don't have to do much. It's a nice day. I just want this. I'm happy.
Look at that. I just kept looking up thinking, oh my God, that's huge. Alright, so this is my solution. This is going to come up from underneath into the gooseneck and down over the top through that snorkel. So you just got to get everything in the right order. Janet just gave me the dirty look.
No, I shook my head.
Look at that. Look at that. There's not much room for much more.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have gone for a pin of hose anyway if I wanted to.
I've got to pull you.
Alright. That's going to come down to here. And hook onto that. Yes, that is the right way. And then I'll split this tube. Only just, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Right, so that's going to leak there, so I'm going to have to get a tape to go around this. I would have preferred to have that go over the top, but the tube here is not big enough, and I've got to put a hose clamp on here, so that's one done. Now we should get super dry in here because everything's coming down the mast, and I've sealed the top up with Sikaflex where the conduit, where all the wires went in. I've actually encapsulated all of them in Sikaflex, and down at the bottom here it's running into this tube, so hopefully we're not going to get any water into this tube, but if we do, it's actually going to have a bend in it. Wow. Yeah. It can be brute force.
You're good at that.
As Janet said, we've just got to muscle through things occasionally. Right, so,
you have, not me.
Alright, so we'll do this side now. Oh my
well
God.
done.
That is more arse than class, I'll say. That's my favourite saying these days. I did actually plan all this, you just wouldn't know it the way that I act. I haven't planned anything. Right, so here we go, we've got our junction. This is all going to join together. Like normally, most boats only have one tube. I'll be stuffed if I know how they get them in. They've all got the same amount of electrics up there, probably with the exception of a camera and potentially a TV aerial. And there's probably a good reason why a lot of people have their TV aerial on the back of the boat, because it's just one less friggin' wire you gotta have. But yeah, so we get this one in here. The air's very thin up here, Jen. The air's thin up there because you're the one going up there.
No.
I can't wait to sling you up there one day.
That's supposed to be a man that loves me.
I do love you, but you're still going to go up because I'm not going up there unless I lose about 30 kilos.
Oh, well, that can be arranged.
That took a bit of doing, but we got it. That's actually spot on. All I've got to do is now manhandle the 3 pythons into one hole, into there, and glue it in and screw it at the same time. So I think we're on the money. I think that's good. All right. That's it. And then we'll get some black Hypalon, I think, to finish that off.
Perhaps, maybe not. I reckon I could spray this black, or paint it black.
Yeah, but
Actually, doesn't look too bad.
It'll blend against the boat anyway. Maybe
Right,
not.
next task is to get that in there somewhere. So we've just fed the wire down through the deck, through the hole in where the snorkel's going to go in. It should come in just to the left of the name of the boat there, just right on the edge of the mast base there. So I'll just get this table out of the way and we'll have a look where it is. I'll slide this over here, get him out of the way. Here's a hole I prepared earlier, just for this very reason, is to hopefully find this wire. Excellent, coming through here where that hole came through, and even better, I've got a big conduit here that I left free just for this very reason. That setup was about 3 years ago, so I had to think of that 3 years ago, how I was going to deal with this massive wire. So a lot of things have coincided pretty well. The only thing was that wire valve. I hadn't factored in on that. Luckily I had it sitting around. I was able to use that to deal with all these wires. But now I've got all my electrics safely waterproofed into the boat, and that's just superb. This conduit here will be able to carry everything back into the electrical compartment, which is just down in here, and then I can start to wire up lights, radar, VHF. The VHF hopefully is long enough to go all the way around to the VHF radio, and I've also got an MEA backbone in the electrical compartment to just plug the camera straight in, and job done. So that's very, very exciting. But for now, we've got to go back and label every single cable so that I know what the hell I'm dealing with. Hang on. Righto, yeah, keep going. Go, mate. Hang on. Righto, pull both. Right, I've got it where I need it to be, but I'm not really sure it's where it needs to be. Right, we're going to have to work all that out. So our problem is we've got a lot of wiring going into here, and this is going to have to be on this angle here, so that it's out of the way of the jib traveller, because it's going to be scooting along here with a lot of loose lines, and we don't want anything. We just want it to bounce off this and deflect. So what I'll do is I'll just try to torch it in place. I think we need to get this in place first and then worry about the wiring. So yeah, lots going on. Do not want to stuff this up. I've got to cut a bit off this bloody wire joint. Trick is to put your finger on top of the wires, and if you cut your finger off, it's actually easier than cutting through your wires. It'll be easier to repair my finger than it would be to run a new wire.
That's not funny, because I'm the one that's going to have to deal with it.
Just this, look. So there you go.
So Ross and I disagree on this. I thought the risk was too high.
Oh, look, I've done it. It's just it needed to be shorter because it gives me another inch of working space. Put your finger underneath it, and then if you
Can you stop talking about that?
I'm so happy with how that came up. I mean, that was I've got a lot of wiring and wasn't really sure how we were going to get that in. But this here, the only ugly bit's really this bit here, which I can hide with some black tape or black mastic or something. But if it's raining, if a wave comes over the deck, it's got this much of the tube up in here, so it's unlikely to ever come back into it. This is going to be sealed down in a moment. We've got really nice routing with no pinch points. Oh, I'm pretty happy with that, Janet. That's sensational. Alright, I'm going to get some black tape because that's going to make me annoyed for the rest of the time looking at that grey tape. But anyway, at least the wiring is in and it's all safe inside and bone dry. There's no way any water's going to get into that. So next thing will be I've got to do some work on the clutches over here and put in another double stack organiser on the top there just to divert the lines into our clutch and winch region over there, and I've got to install another winch over here, a clutch and another double organiser or a triple organiser on the back there for the Main Street Traveller. So plenty to do. All these blocks are here waiting for their reefing lines. Sunday this week, Neil Tasker from Barracuda Sales is going to come down and measure up our rig, so that's pretty exciting. He's already got our sails in his slot, so ready to go. We just need to basically get the final measurements and then we can finish the rig and get her all dressed with the soft furnishings, and then we can maybe take her out for a bit of a run. I went to a ship tender yesterday and bought another stand-up block, some fair leads, a clutch and a couple of turning blocks to run our jib furler, which is going to run down the port side here. And I've just let Neil know at Barracuda Sales that I need to furl to the port side, and that way he'll make sure that it has its UV strip on the right side. So much to think about when you're building a boat. There's a lot more to do. I've got to do some modifications here to the mast base right there in front of the Traveller track there. I've got to actually sand out this region right here so that our Traveller car will run around there. I've actually could have put the Traveller track a little bit further down and minimised that, but then it would have impeded on the hatches. So there's a whole range of reasons why I do these things, and yeah, sort of luckily we're able to counteract it. But now I've got that guy out of the way, that means that there's no chance of that Traveller catching on that snorkel, on any of the wiring, and everything's tucked away underneath the mast base.